And we are live on YouTube. All right, everybody, welcome to Martinis with Scott. We're just doing our little midday touch base for 5, 10, 15 minutes. I'd like to say hi. Yesterday on this live touch base, the YouTube didn't record. So all of this is normally on the Martinis with Scott channel on YouTube. You can look it up. Hi on the YouTube side there, live stream. Thank you for joining us. So most of this is recorded, but the volume didn't come through yesterday, so I deleted the video. Excuse me, and that content will be on our Thursday afternoon Martinis with Scott, where we have a drink together. And so we'll get moving here with episode 150. If anybody has anything they want me to talk about, please say that. Hey, Alan, thanks for joining us on Instagram. And if no one has anything else, I'm going to move forward here with what I thought about for today, which is how to persuade the skeptical. So what do I mean by that? Let's give an example. Say you're running a business and you've been in trouble forever. Your bank's unhappy with you. Things are going badly. We're going to talk about this in the personal as well, but we'll start with a business example. Things are going badly, your reporting is late, you've had losses, you're blowing through your financial covenants. What are financial covenants? Financial covenants are you make a promise within your legal agreement to have so much equity in your business, or to be, within 80% of your budget, or, for the year, or whatever those things are, not to take too much money out for yourself. And so you've created these problems, right? And now you go to your banker and you say, hey, I need some help. And things are going to change. Things are going to change. They're going to be way better. I just need more time. I maybe need an overadvance. I need a little money from you, Mr. Banker, to help save this business. I'm in a global pandemic, whatever. And you need some help. And what is the banker thinking in that example? What is the banker thinking? Well, what they're thinking is, why now? Why should I believe things are going to change now? You've been talking about this. You've been, the company has been talking about changing. They've been talking about doing better. They've been talking about staying on side with their covenants. They've been talking about making money. They've been talking about reporting on time for a long period of time, right? You see this all the time. It's not just a one-time default, like things just go on forever. And the banker's thinking, well, why now? What's going to change? Okay. And so if I can take it, that's what we're going to focus on, is how to convince that banker that things are going to change, how to convince somebody in your personal life that things are going to change. You have to answer the why now question. All right. So I have talked to you before about a negotiation framework for anything, just how to negotiate everything. I came up with a framework while sitting on Clubhouse one day, and I just jotted it down to myself. That was a couple of weeks ago. I tried to put an acronym to it. I came up with the ATMOG, and thank you to those listeners that commented off-site, excuse me, like on LinkedIn, or sent me a private email and said that made them laugh. That was the whole point. It's the first time I've ever tried to put an acronym to a framework. Hey, David, how are you doing? I'm talking about the ATMOG. And so the idea of that framework is attention, trust, meaning, what is open, what's available, and then finding the gap. So that was the framework for negotiation. Let me just talk about that quickly, because that's not really our topic today. Our topic is how to persuade people that are skeptical. Attention is, if you're going to negotiate with anybody, you have to have their attention. If you're trying to sell somebody anything, if you're trying to persuade somebody of anything, they have to be listening to you, okay? And in the example that I just talked about, the hypothetical example with the company that's in trouble and they're talking to their banker, well, you have their attention, right? So that's a non-issue. But if you're trying to sell something, I've talked before about, Porsche dealers, and they're trying to sell a Porsche. They don't go out on the street and, flag people down and say, hey, do you want to buy a Porsche? No, they create a brand and an environment where you walk into the store and now they have into the Porsche dealership and now they have your attention, right? You have to have the attention before you can sell or persuade or negotiate. The second thing is trust. And the why now question, the how to persuade the skeptical, comes around. It's a trust issue within the negotiation. So I'm going to come back to that. So ATM, the meaning is the third one, and that is, the idea there is the counterparty, the person that you're negotiating with, the person that you're trying to persuade, what is the real root meaning behind this? If you're talking to your banker in my hypothetical example, is it that you violated your financial covenant, or is the real meaning of this that they don't trust you? They're trying to get out of the business that you're in. They're trying to move out of that industry. They flagged you as a bad loan. Maybe they had some write-offs behind it, some reserves on the amount of money that they loaned you. I mean, you don't know what's going on, but you need to, as much as possible, understand the true meaning to this issue to your counterparty, the emotional and financial side of this, apart from what you want to negotiate. You need to understand what they're trying to negotiate. Open is you understanding what's available and possible from your perspective, what you're closed to. In other words, the non-starter is what you're not going to ever negotiate, and focus on the what is open and find the gap. Find the gap between what they're trying to negotiate, the meaning, and what is open and available to you. So that's the framework, the ATMOG, that made some of you laugh. Thankful for that. Now, how do we persuade? Let's go back to the trust issue. How do we persuade those that are skeptical? So again, you're a company, you've been blowing through financial covenants for years, you don't report on time, you haven't paid your withholding taxes, and you're in to meet your big bad banker, and you say things are going to get better. And as I told you before, what they're really thinking in their heads is, why now? Why do I believe you? Why are things going to get better? Well, here's what you need to do. You need to depersonalize this, and you need to focus on systems over goals. Here's a goal. I'm going to get better. I promise you, Mr. Banker, that we will have our reporting done by the 15th of each month. I know I just put my big finger on the camera there for the Instagram live stream. I was getting rid of a notification. We will, I promise you, we're going to have our reporting done by the 15th of each month. I've got some new sales contracts coming in. That's going to make our profit better, which in turn will make our tangible net worth better, and all these covenants that we're violating. These are my goals. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Why would a banker believe that when you've been saying the same sort of thing forever? They've been complaining about it. You've been saying, yeah, okay. And then sorry, I'm getting notifications here throwing me off track. And so you've been making promises, and then you've been setting goals, and you're not meeting that. What you need to focus on is systems. You should always be focusing on systems over goal. What is a system change in this banking organization? And again, in this banking relationship. And again, we'll talk about the personal. We'll talk about the personal after this. Well, a system change is, Mr. Banker, I recognize this has been a real problem. I recognize this has been a problem. Here's what we're doing about it. The reporting issue, this just falls on my controller. I fired this person. I've hired a new girl. She's going to be the, guy or girl. She's going to be the new controller. And I'm changing the system, and their priority is to get reporting out no matter what, on time. I've made a change within my organization that's already been done. That's a system change. I'm cutting expenses. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You're giving tangible systemic changes within your organization, and you're showing that you're taking it seriously. Systems over goals. Provide the system change. Let's talk about it the personal. Let's talk about it with your spouse or your partner or your loved one. David says, I dropped by. This is great, but I got to go. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for tuning in, David. I appreciate it. And it'll be on the Martinis with Scott channel, recorded on YouTube later. So let's take it to the personal. Let's say you're me. You never do your dishes. Your spouse, your partner's been saying to you forever, you need to do the dishes. You leave a mess in the kitchen. And for a decade, I've been saying, yeah, I'm going to do that. I promise I'm going to do that. And do I do it? No. Now we're in another fight. This is not true, by the way. I would never behave like this. Now we're in a fight, and my partner says to me, hey, you're not doing your dishes. I've told you this all the time. And I say, I'm going to do it. Have I answered the why now question? I have not. I have not answered the why now question. What is the answer? How do I persuade? With a system. It's not a goal. It's not like, oh, okay, I'll do the dishes. That's not it. You got to have a system. Here's an example of a system. You know what, honey? I'm going to change my night routine. When I'm getting ready for bed, when I'm turning the lights off and I'm locking the door and I've put my robe on, I've brushed my teeth, I'm going to do is the last thing that I do every night. I'm going to wander through the kitchen. I'm going to make sure it's clean. I'm going to make sure I rinse some dishes and I put them in the dishwasher, and I'm going to make it part of my routine. I'm going to make it part of my routine every night That's what I'm going to do. I'm not apologizing. Okay, as part of this presenting the system, you're not giving an apology, right? So you don't start with that. You don't say, hey, you don't make a promise that you're going to meet an objective, right? So you don't focus on the goal, which is cleaning the dishes. Explain the system. Explain the system. Here's what I'm going to do to change my habit. Every night, this is what I'm going to do. To yourself, the same thing to yourself. When you talk about, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds and you've wanted to lose 20 pounds for 10 years. Does it do you any good to tell yourself, hey, I'm going to lose 20 pounds? It does not. Focus on the system, okay? The system to persuade even yourself, because don't make any mistake about this. You are the biggest skeptic of anybody. Other people believe you way more than you believe yourself. I think that's just the human condition. How do you convince yourself? Focus on the system. Don't focus on the 20 pounds, right? That's the goal. Focus on the system. What's the system? Here's a couple of ideas. I'm going to go for a walk every day. I'm going to go for a run every day. I'm going to do some exercise every day. And I'm going to do it at this time. And I'm going to do it in this way, right? I'm going to stop eating after 8 p.m. Whatever it is that works for you, just try it. Create a system. Don't focus on the goal. Focus on the system. And then you don't have to believe yourself. All you have to do is do the thing that you said you're going to do. That's all you have to do, is you have to implement the system and see what happens. And when you start getting some wins, when you start getting some momentum, your skepticism about yourself would change. So never forget, there's the idea of how to persuade anybody that's skeptical, including a stakeholder in business, including a partner or a loved one, including yourself about you, which might be the hardest of all. You need to answer the why now question. What is going to change? Why now? Why am I successful financing troubled businesses? Because I focus a lot on the why now question. Why now? What's changing? I'd like to fire somebody. I'm not even really hung up as to whether it's the right person. I just want to demonstrate, I want to demonstrate that we're taking the issue seriously and we're changing. You need to answer the why now. It's one of the most powerful things in persuasion when you're trying to deal with somebody who has a skeptical attitude about you. All right, questions, comments, 12 minutes in. That's it for today. I got a lot going on today. I'm being interviewed by Anna Nestorova on her YouTube podcast. So we'll get that. I think we'll get that up on the Martinis with Scott channel as well. So please check that out. And I'm shooting our Thursday show where we meet at 4 p.m. Eastern for a drink. That's a pre-recorded show because the quality on live sucks. I'd much rather do it live, but I'm recording that today. And I also work for a living, so I have to do that. Parting comments, anyone? Thank you for listening. Nothing. I'm going to go. I'm going to hang up on YouTube first. Thank you, everybody on YouTube. And